When we think about history, we tend to imagine something specific, a great museum or a shelf full of dusty books. But history has a history of its own. The field as we know it today, led largely by college and university professors, is usually marked as beginning with the American Historical Association in 1884. Before that time, history was the province of rich gentlemen like George Bancroft, who had time and wealth to spare. But when members of the new historical organization gathered in Saratoga, New York for the first time, one could find aging patrician historians like Bancroft, great librarians like Justin Windsor, and distinguished politicians like John Jay. While college and university professors dominate the organization today, they comprised only a small minority in the early years of the AHA. This is hardly surprising, as only 6 departments in the United States were conferring history PhDs at the time, and according to the Bureau of Education, only 3 other colleges had faculty appointments in American history. But this diversity in who counted as a historian only carried so far, as the field still reflected the habits of the early gentleman historians. When we look back to the visual traces of history training in those early years, we see that women were excluded from the seminar rooms of the early departments. They are shown only when clearly separated from their male counterparts. Taking a look around the Johns Hopkins History Seminar, which produced distinguished historians like Frederick Jackson Turner, J. Franklin Jameson, and Woodrow Wilson, we notice the absence of women and a slogan that encouraged students to think of history as a political story of great men and great deeds. Still, women did gain admittance to the American Historical Association as writers and amateur historians, and comprised about 10% of the early membership. But even though they were allowed into the room, they were generally excluded from positions of authority until World War II, and kept at the margins of the profession until late in the 20th century.